X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Zach. And Adam, what a great day. A great day for Russia.
A great day for Russia. Well, we are talking about Omega Red today. A classic 90s X-Men villain if there ever was one, right?
I like to think of him as the 90s X-Men villain.
Oh, sure. Yeah, he's 100% a Jim Lee sketchbook delight that I don't think anyone really knows what to do with this character most times. But he's a trip.
He was a hot new character when the X-Men were the hottest and the newest they have ever been.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, it means that he will never leave us. Unlike, it is weird that he's the one that sticks around if you think about it for a little bit. Because it's not like people are clamoring for Cyber or anything like that. But Omega Red has an ongoing story arc in the Krakoa era where he becomes a vampire, very literally, and not in the sense that he is just a vampire, right? Like that's his powers, is to be a vampire?
Yeah, he sucks the life out of people. Is it not always with his tentacles? I feel like his powers are kind of ill-explained.
Well, he's got, you know how Wolverine has a mutant healing factor?
Yes.
Yeah, well, Omega Red has a mutant death factor. He's got like death spores that come out of him and kill you. And again, mostly he has tentacles and a ponytail, which in one of the stories, which is, we're talking about the first Omega Red story, sorry to spoil it for you, does immediately get jokes made about how all of the Jim Lee villains have ponytails, which I think is very funny since we are just a few issues into the Jim Lee world.
Well, we're only a few issues away from him leaving too.
Well, yes.
So yeah, let's jump into it. This is the first appearance of Omega Red in X-Men Volume 2, 4 to what? 7?
7.
Yeah. So
7.
This is the second arc of what? There's 4 arcs of Jim Lee's X-Men Volume 2.
Yeah, this is the second one, and this was requested to us from Patreon supporter Bill is reading. Bill went over to patreon.com/comicsxf, reached deep down into his heart and his pocketbook, and toss a couple of coins into our coffers so that we would talk about Arcady. If you want to be like Bill is reading and, you know, read with your eyes and listen with your ears to this podcast, you can do the same. Or if you want to listen to some of the other great podcasts and read some of the other great content that is on Comics XF, you can go do that. And this money directly supports everyone who does that. So thank you, Bill.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill. I just want to start by saying that I think this might be like the most 90s Jim Lee X-Men sort of animated series / comic thing that was ever published. It's just like so dead on the nose that like this is what people remember of this era, is like this.
I don't want to say it's the best one because...
Oh no, there's definitely some things that aren't great about it, but
yeah, there's the part where Chris Claremont in the first one told a coherent story, but this is pure unadulterated 90s. It's a absolutely wild story that starts off with what I think is the iconic scene of Jim Lee's entire career. Like
yes.
this is the Jim Lee scene. We're talking about the same scene, right, Adam?
You're talking about the basketball scene?
I'm talking about the scene where the X-Men, they don't play softball anymore. They play basketball in short shorts.
Well, and it's so funny because like it so places this in its era, right? Because, you know, this is when the Bulls were red hot. Everybody's into basketball. So they don't play baseball. It's Gambit and Jubilee versus Rogue and Wolverine on the basketball court. And it's Gambit just like swish, swish, swish. It is such a fun scene.
Jubilee's like, Wolverine, I don't know why you even came out here. And he just whoosh right behind it. Adam, do you know how much I love this scene?
How much do you love this scene, Zach?
I love this scene so much that when he's been on here, so I'll give him a call him a friend of the show. Kyle Starks was doing his Kickstarter for his Basketball Dracula comic, Old Head.
Yes.
One of the commission tiers, or one of the tiers of support, was you will get a sketch drawn by Kyle of any basketball player, real or fictional.
So you requested Gambit?
No, I did request Wolverine though in short shorts doing a basketball.
That's adorable. That's really great.
It's a fantastic. It's one of my favorites. I have 2 Kyle Starks commissions that sit in my office. One is of Wolverine doing a basketball jump, and one of them is a Pog, which is also
nice. Yeah, I've seen that one.
That one is also my tablet lock screen. So I look at that picture frequently.
Well, we should comment on the creative side here because Claremont has left at this point. Jim Lee is steering this ship, but is also, like we mentioned before when we covered the Mojo arc that he leaves on, he kind of has like half a foot out the door. Like you can kind of tell by the time we get to the end of this, and there's an army of inkers on this arc, that maybe he's not able to keep up with the pace, or maybe, it's like, but we also have John Byrne scripting the first issue. And then we also get our first appearance of Scott Lobdell doing some scripting here on this book, right?
Yeah. So story-wise, this book is an absolute wreck. It is a mess, this book, because if you haven't read it, and this is one of the most read X-Men stories of all time, so if you haven't read it, I don't know what to tell you. But this is a story where Wolverine gets captured by Omega Red and the Upstarts. You know the Upstarts, don't you, Adam?
Yeah, they are playing for, it's hinted that I guess they're going to win like immortality, or I don't know. But we have Shinobi Shaw, who has recently killed his father in Uncanny, and then we're also joined by Fenris, who nobody
is in
likes.
This one.
Yes,
they are the Nazis, and actually Shinobi's not in this one. He comes in just a little bit later on this. You may be thinking,
you're right. It's Matsuo.
Matsuo Teriyaba.
Yeah, because they look exactly. I forgot. You're right. It is Matsuo.
Listen. Jim Lee has a specific style. And that is ponytails and
Wolverine hair
and nice suits for the men villains.
Yeah, for sure.
That's saying just what he does. Oh, I was saying this story is an absolute train wreck. Like, because Wolverine gets captured, and then the X-Men go to rescue him, and then Sabretooth shows up, and also Maverick gets introduced in this. Maverick's trying to rescue Wolverine because Sabretooth, of course, as we all know, what Sabretooth really wants is the carbonanium synthesizer that will stop him from being in eternal pain, because
that's what Omega Red wants.
Yes, that's what Omega Red wants. Excuse me.
Yes.
Because Omega Red doesn't have adamantium. He has Russian adamantium, which is carbonanium.
Yeah, it's got radiation in it, right?
Yeah, it's adamantium, but it's a super heavy metal, so
it'll kill him.
It's killing him, so he has to eat people's energy to survive. Luckily, he was already a serial killer, so he's not that worried about it.
No, he does not care. And all of this is punctuated with these. This is one of the first times we're also seeing it in the Wolverine solo book, but we're starting to see these flashbacks into Wolverine's past.
This is so interesting to me, just from a timing standpoint. I guess I had known about all of these stories individually, but because I wasn't reading them as they came out, I did not realize that you get Weapon X.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next month, you get that Wolverine 50, that really good Shiva scenario arc where you learn about his memories. And then right after that, you get this story about Maverick and Sabretooth and Wolverine and how they used to be Weapon X agents and how they went to Berlin to get the carbonanium synthesizer, and Sabretooth did a murder and Wolverine hid the carbonanium synthesizer in her grave. And it's a whole thing, and it's absolutely nonsensical, but there is a vibrant feeling of energy in all of this. There's a lot happening, and none of it's really well directed into any one specific way, but it's very exciting.
Yeah, it's 100% driven by Jim Lee's art, because not only do you get those intermittent scenes, but you're also getting the long shot Dazzler stuff that's going to lead up to that final arc, interrupting the story too. So it does feel like every couple of pages you're getting a switch into something else. So, Sabretooth's attacking. Oh wait, Sabretooth's controlled by Psylocke, and it's like, well, how much of this is part of a scripted story? How much of this is coming through sort of almost a traditional The Marvel way of getting this book out?
With the changeover between Byrne, who has stated that he left because Jim Lee and Will Spartacio could not get their scripts in on time, and they kept changing things of what they discussed because they wanted to draw something else that they thought was cooler. And Byrne, who is a lot of things, but above all else, he is a cog in the Marvel machine.
Oh, sure. He's going to get his stuff in on time.
Yeah, he did not appreciate that, so he booked it. And Scott Lobdell, who is just about as much of a cog in the Marvel machine, but somehow even more willing to bend over backwards for Bob Harris than anyone else in the world. Scott jumps in and tries to do the best out of it. By the end of these 4 issues, it's just a mess. But that first one is a lot of fun.
Yeah, by the time you get to issue 7, the credits are Jim Lee plot and breakdowns. So he's not even credited with doing full pencils. Unfortunately, Comic Skater Art Thibert is doing finishes, Scott Lobdell dialogue. It's really just like, let's get this book out on time, if we can. And Joe Rosas throughout this is making like really weird coloring mistakes that are,
Joe Rosas is a professional. He's trying to get their number 1 book out.
That's right. But to your point, it is really wild that Weapon X did come out almost right before this, and yet we're seeing Dr. Cornelius as part of this story.
Yeah, Cornelius is in this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that they are not revealing all of the cards of what Wolverine's backstory is, but they are adding that element in the early 90s where it wasn't there before. He was just a guy, and he had a past that you didn't know about.
Mm-hmm.
And once he fought in World War II, but even the fact that he was old enough to be back in World War II, that was new. That was like 1989, 1990.
Right. Yeah, these are all, we think of these things as kind of going back forever, but they all really did start right around this time period that we started.
There's a reason Wolverine's the hottest thing, because they introduced so many like cool elements to Wolverine right around this time.
It was this and Cable, man. If you were 10, 11 years old like I was, this was like candy. You wanted to know. And what I've learned over the years is that I actually did not want to know, because it was so much more fun getting these random puzzle pieces than having like a fully fleshed out. I've talked about this when we talked about Wolverine Origin.
But I do think that early 90s of giving just enough to know that there is a story there. Wolverine doesn't have a boring past. Like, it's not that he's just there. There is a deep mythology to Wolverine that you don't know about.
Right.
And you could know about it. And though it doesn't work when they lay it all out. It is what it is now. Mm-hmm. But it is his actual origin is at least a loose enough origin that you can have Wolverine do whatever you want.
Yeah.
He can just do whatever as long as it is when cars existed. Wolverine can do whatever. The one weird
history
thing
of photography.
The one weird thing in this arc that throws me off is that Psylocke also gets mind controlled again, but she was just mind controlled in X-Men number 3. So 3 issues later, she gets mind controlled again. And I think that's a weird choice.
It is. She's doing some controlling. She's being controlled. And I think this is a symptom of just, hey, it looks cool on the page, but we have to make this make some kind of sense in terms of the story. The same thing goes for the carbonadium synthesizer, which was buried in a grave, but then it appears at some point in the story in a cylinder that Wolverine is holding and then escapes with, but that doesn't really make a lot of sense. The story ends with Wolverine popping out of the grave and going, haha, I got here first. So, it's kind of a mess, but it is, for, lack of a better description, it's just really enjoyable. It's very readable, even if it's like sort of a confusing mess.
It is a beautiful, confusing mess. I do have to ask, do you like Maverick, or is he the part of this that doesn't work?
Maverick is a really fun Jim Lee, like, secret agent design. I've never quite understood Maverick as like a character to be enjoyed.
I think my favorite Maverick story legitimately is the recent Ben Percy, Andy Kubert Maverick story.
Yeah.
In that Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
Though my favorite Maverick fun fact, Adam, I'm going to ask you if you know this. Do you know which X-Men movie Maverick was in?
Oh, he's in Wolverine Origins, isn't he?
He is in Wolverine Origins. He is the secret Weapon X agent that Wolverine shoots his motorcycle into the helicopter of.
Right. Great scene.
Do you know who else is in that movie?
Hold on. Will.i.am is in there, and who does he play?
Will.i.am plays John Wraith, who's another Weapon X guy. Very minor.
Yeah. You get the Gambit.
You get Gambit.
Which is kind of a fun thing. That's the Tim. What the heck is that guy's name? Oh, people are going to be listening, getting so angry at me right now. It's the guy from Justice.
I'm getting angry at you right now.
Who is it? What's his name? Timothy.
Are you thinking of the Friday Night Lights character,
No.
Tim Riggins?
No.
Because that's who Taylor Kish portrayed in Friday Night Lights.
No.
He also portrayed Gambit. Taylor Kish was Gambit. I cannot emphasize this enough.
Wait, why did I think Timothy Oliphant was Gambit?
I don't know.
He was rumored to play Gambit. Okay.
No, it's Taylor Kish.
All right, forget I said that.
He played Gambit. Blob is in there in just a bad scene. But who you may not remember, the character Bolt is in this from that one X-Men Unlimited story where he's the kid who gets the legacy virus.
Yes.
You know that Bolt is Maverick's son, right?
Oh, really? I did not know that. That's a weird one.
Bolt is Maverick's secret son. Also, he's the second Maverick.
Okay, I'm looking at a picture of Taylor Kish. He does look like Timothy Oliphant. So Timothy
Oliphant's like 20 years older than him.
I know, but I'm going to give myself at least a little bit of brain credit here and say, okay, anyway, we should probably rank this. Because
we got a lot to talk about this episode, actually.
Oh my God. We got stuff to talk about. So what is this list of ours?
Oh, we have a big old list where we have ranked every X-Men story that's ever existed from best to worst. The number one story on our list is the House of X Powers of 10. The number 100 story on our list is X-Force 19 through 24, Assault on Grey Malkin. 200 on our list is Mr. and Mrs. X Love and Marriage. 300 on our list is Spider-Man and the X-Men 4 and 5, the Venom Brood arc. Number 400 on this list is Operation Zero Tolerance from X-Men 65 to 60 Nice. And number 500 on this list is Captain Marvel 2 and 3. That's the stuff about Adam X, the Extreme. And then the 570th story on our list is the Draco.
I feel like nostalgia may be clouding my opinion of this story, but I do
It is.
really, really love issue 4, just as I really love issue 8 with the boysenberry pie bishop stuff. But I think this is better than the first arc of Wolverine and the X-Men at 177. Am I being crazy high here?
So here's what I'm thinking. I know it's better than Jim Lee's Mojo arc at
Yes.
390.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think it's better than 246 X-Men Ghost Rider Brood Trouble in the Big Easy?
I think it is.
I kind of do too.
I think it is. I think we talked about that one as also being kind of like the quintessential animated series thing, but this really feels like it is a touchstone of the era, you know?
It does. There are stories as a full story that I like more than this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have the Shi'ar Savage Land stuff
164.
At 164. I don't think this is up to that. I think
it's not. That is a better story.
Yeah, I would agree.
I'm looking down this. This is not better than 171 Astonishing Tales Mojo World by Jonathan Hickman.
Yeah, I think that's taking more risks.
I don't think this is better than New X-Men: The Quest for Magic.
Oh, really? See, I would put it ahead of that, and I would put it ahead of what's above that, which is Necrosha.
That's the Destiny stuff in Necrosha, though.
Yeah.
It reads better than you think it does.
I think it's probably on par with 172, which is the second Web of Spider-Man annual, which is like the Warlock Nascenti story.
Let's put it right above that, but below Astonishing Tales Mojo World.
That's a good place for it. Yeah, that's a fun story.
Here's the thing, folks. Astonishing Tales Mojo World is a coherent story. This lacks that.
Yeah, looks great. Starts strong. Little bit like weird as you go on. Speaking of wonky and weird, what is this series we're talking about next, which I had never read an issue of?
Yeah, we're going to talk about Wolverine Origins.
Not the mini, though, right? This is an ongoing series?
That's just called Origin.
Oh, right. That was Origin. Okay, so this is Wolverine Origins.
Yes, which is, again, separate from X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Right. We wouldn't want to get those confused.
No. But it's not dissimilar to it. This is the 2009 arc Romulus. Issues 37 through 40. This is the return of Omega Red and his death. Adam, what do you know about Romulus?
Romulus is a guy who behind the scenes like controlled Wolverine's life for a long time. It was like a big retcon, right? He's like
he manipulated almost every event in Wolverine's life so that Wolverine would bear a child who would become the head of the Lupa Sapiens, the wolf people. Again, cannot emphasize enough, Jeff Loeb, that Wolverines and wolves are not the same things. Taking that aside,
yeah,
very much this whole thing is predicated on the fact that there's like a lot of weird cat and wolf mutants, because like Feral and Cat's Eye and Wolfsbane and Wild Child and all that. And the problem with all that is the fact that, one, all of those are different animals.
Right.
And two, this arc specifically says, yeah, all the Wolverines, like Wild Child and Cyber and Lady Deathstrike and Omega Red. And at a certain point, I have to say, no, those are just Wolverine's villains. Those are just the people Wolverine fights. They are not connected in any material way, except for they are all in the same kinds of stories. What are you talking about? Daniel Way, who writes this, Scott Eaton does the art here. I did want to say, because I don't know about Adam. I'm going to tear into this one.
Well, this is not very good.
It's not. I want to say Scott Eaton does a pretty good job on the art here. Scott Eaton has nothing to complain about in this series. He's doing his best. He's doing pretty solid work on this. Like, I've got no complaints.
Here's what I will say. I want to go back to my previous point about Omega Red. Jim Lee, one of the only people that can draw Omega Red. Like, is Scott Eaton trying very hard to draw Omega Red? Yes. it just doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like, he's got to have the sort of like portachio cyber tech stuff all over him. And like, this is just a very clean version of this character that I don't, anyway, he's in like a Russian prison. He's feeding off of people, but he needs the synthesizer again. We're back to the synth.
Because that plot never gets resolved, Adam.
No.
That plot had not been resolved since Jim Lee introduced it. So this is the resolution to it.
Yeah. So much so that the second issue of this is a cover homage to number 6, I think.
Yeah, it rules.
Yeah,
that's a Doug Braithwaite cover. It also rules.
So Omega Red, Wolverine fight in a prison. Omega Red's got the Sea Synth back. I love that they nickname it the Sea Synth in this arc. And Wolverine has to take Omega Red out by dropping a fence on him, I guess.
Yeah, Wolverine pretty much slows down Omega Red because he drops like a prison grate on him and like stabs him into the ground and says, "Look, you'll probably get out of here, but this gives me a head start to find what's going on." And it doesn't matter because Wild Child gets a hold of him instead. Adam, you remember how Wild Child was not possessed, but just working for Romulus? You remember that, right?
I guess. I mean, that's what's indicated here. I have no idea how Wild Child on his own overtook Wolverine and then got him like strung up above a boiling hot bowl of acid or lava or something.
Oh man, but I can't believe we are not talking about Jeff Loeb's Wolverine story that introduces Romulus, which is it's Jeff Loeb and Simon Bianchi, and it is just a buck wild. So much of this is,
but this is the first time we see Romulus, right? He's been.
This is the first time we see Romulus. Who? Here's what Romulus is. He's a weird old dude who's big and has strapped 5 Wolverine claws to both of his hands.
He's a Wolverine cosplayer who's gone wild.
Well, it's an interesting thing, and I'm not sure how much of that was the original idea for Romulus. If Jeff Loeb had the kind of Marvel 90s idea of what if there was this weird guy who was controlling Wolverine and didn't think any more about it. And then Daniel Way's like, okay, well, I'm Daniel Way. I'm not great at writing comic books, but this is bad. Like, that's kind of dumb. What if this guy just really wanted to be a Wolverine, but couldn't?
Yeah.
And it is better that Romulus is pretending. Like, that makes him a more interesting character than if he's just this mastermind who possessed everything and ran everything and controlled everything. But he's so dumb.
He's really dumb.
He does look just... That Romulus design is not a good one, folks.
We also got the Muramasa blade here, or what's left of it, right?
Oh, yeah, because the Muramasa blade was shattered.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, I forget in which arc, it may have been the arc right before this, a part of the Muramasa blade, that is the blade that the great swordsman Muramasa did take part of all the evil in Wolverine's soul and pull it out and made a sword out of it. And that sword can kill anyone with a healing factor because of plot reasons. And then the top half of the Muramasa blade got cracked and broken and was taken by Daken. And it was then melted down and coated the bottom claws for Daken, and only the bottom claws on each hand.
And then didn't they make some bullets out of it at some point?
Later they make Muramasa bullets.
Yeah. So it
with Wolverine, the parts from Daken's claws.
Yeah, so Wolverine does fight Romulus here, knocks off one of his fake claw gloves, and Romulus still manages to throw the Muramasa blade hilt first to knock Wolverine out, which seems very unlikely. I don't really understand how that would have knocked Wolverine out, but Romulus is basically like, "You're a wolf, I'm out of here." Just leaves.
That is what happens. Along the way, Wild Child does get dropped into a pot of boiling metal, and Omega Red gets stabbed with the Muramasa blade and dies.
Yeah, so much for Omega Red. He has not lasted very long here. But
he's just a guy to fight in this. And frankly, unless you're going to give him a tiger, that's about the extent of the Omega Red content I want.
Yeah. Yeah. There's not a lot people can do with him, at least at that point. So
he's got there's nothing to him. I'm sorry. He's a cool Jim Lee sketch.
Right. Right. So
that's it.
And like I said, if he's not being drawn like really cool, I'm not super invested. So there's not a lot going on here in this arc. I didn't like this very much, and it doesn't inspire me to read the rest of it, though I guess I should if I want to learn about Daken.
What you got to do is you've got to read this and Wolverine Volume 3 consecutively as they are coming out. Because I cannot emphasize enough, some of the most buck wild X-Men stuff happens in those two books, and no one talks about it.
Yeah.
People, because X-Men fans love to talk about stuff. X-Men fans kind of hate Wolverine, which is, I think, very funny. Adam, you and I have had this discussion.
We have. Yes.
The stuff that becomes canonical about Wolverine in these stories that are it's not just by one creative team. It's like Daniel Way. It's Mark Guggenheim. It's Jeff Loeb. It's a lot of dudes. Okay. This isn't in this story. This is in X-Men, or this is in Wolverine. Yeah, you know how Wolverine has a healing factor and that he can come back from the dead?
Yeah. From like a drop of blood, right?
Yeah. Did you know that every time that he comes back from something that would kill him, he actually has to fight the very real Angel of Death in the Dreamscape and fight for his life?
I think I did know that. Yeah, there's like a weird kind of gotta get back battle.
Yeah,
right?
Very literally. Did you also know that at one point his Atlantean girlfriend that he had only dated in one other arc was fridged, and the cumulative effect of all of the fridging of all of Wolverine's love interests over his entire life made it so that he no longer was inspired to fight back against the Angel of Death?
Oh, wow. No, that's fascinating. Who wrote that? Is that a Jason Aaron thing?
Is it good?
Oh, it's Guggenheim.
No.
Okay.
It's not good. But the fact that even Mark Guggenheim, who creates this woman specifically to be fridged, and it's not good, but the underlying message of that story is so many women that Wolverine loves dies, that like he has been broken at a fundamental level, is an interesting read that in the hands of someone who was good at writing things would be a great story.
Yeah. We should rank this. There's not a lot to it.
It's not. It's weird though. Romulus is weird.
Yeah. But not in like a fun way that I
don't know. It's fun for me to think about Romulus.
Like I'm down in the 300s here.
That seems high.
No, I keep dropping. Yeah.
I'm in
the 400s.
This is not better than that New Warriors issue we talked about last week.
No, it's not. It's probably
this isn't better than that Nova Halloween issue.
No, it's probably better than where is X-Men Noir? Yeah, I don't think it's
that's at 495.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite that bad. But I don't think it's better than the first Iceman miniseries at 487.
No, I agree with you there. I don't think this is better than the Infinitives of Evil from X-Man.
Yeah, okay.
That's at 492.
It's probably a little better than those two issues where Beast joins the Avengers. Those were just kind of eh.
I would say right under it, and here's why.
Okay, because
the only thing that's delightful about these issues is the existence of Romulus and the greater impact to Wolverine's universe, because Romulus is so dumb. Whereas Toad wanting to get revenge on everybody because they didn't get beat up by Magneto, I think is delightful.
Okay, all right. But we'll still put this step ahead of Knights of Terra, which is pretty terrible.
Knights of Terra is about comparable with this, if I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
So this is, Wolverine Origins Romulus, but not the worst Romulus stuff, honestly.
We'll get to it at some point.
This might be the best Romulus story, actually. But we're not talking about that. Instead, we are going to talk about... so we talked about we talked about Omega Red's rebirth.
Yes.
We talked about his death.
Yes.
we're going to talk about what's that third step after death, which is when your spirit gets broken into 3 different parts of built to order assassins who are given a tragic backstory of the person that they are hired to assassinate, so that they will be more motivated to assassinate them.
Zach, are you talking about White Sky?
I am talking about the White Sky program. I am talking about the Omega clan. Omega Red, Omega Black, and Omega White.
Yes, because why not have 3 Omega Reds?
We're talking about Uncanny X-Force, the final execution. It's Uncanny X-Force 25 to 35, written by Rick Remender, with pencils by Mike McCone, Phil Noto, Julian Totino Tedesco, David Williams, more Phil Noto, and even more Phil Noto. It's mostly Phil Noto with some beautiful, like the Tedesco stuff. That's gorgeous.
It is kind of wild. I think we were talking about this before we went on the air, seeing Phil Noto do something that's a little bloodier.
Phil Noto, it is. I also think like Dean White is doing the bulk of the colors on this. Justin Ponzer does some fill-ins. Frank Martin Jr., I think, does the last couple of things that Noto was doing. But it's weird. I think the weirder thing is seeing Noto color himself, or not color himself, because he has a very like defined palette that he uses nowadays and very defined tones. I like Noto here. He's not spectacular. I like the Noto of today, who's very, very good at expressive characters and does some really interesting things. I think my favorite is the Noto of just a few years back. Like he did a Black Widow run that, from a story's perspective, is but honestly, my favorite Phil Noto art is in that.
Beautiful art.
It's absolutely gorgeous. And I think he uses some thinner. He doesn't use as heavy inks as he does in his current stuff, where he'll use like real thick line work. That I like the sketchier, thinner, almost like color over pencils kind of line work that he was doing at that time. But I digress. Noto's still great.
Yeah, absolutely. So the larger picture, because there's a lot of little things that happen as the story goes by, but
yes,
there is a new Brotherhood of Evil Mutants that Dakin has formed with Weapon 3, the Skinless Man.
Skinless Man sucks, by the way. I do not care for the Skinless Man.
I hate it. He's this dude in judge's robes and in a judge's wig.
He's
a barrister.
He's wearing too many hats. He really is.
Yeah.
Because he's a Weapon X graduate. He has beef with Phantom X because he's not Weapon X, he's Weapon 3. But he's from the weapons program. He has a whole deal against Phantom X, and then he's wearing these weird barrister robes, even though he's from regular times. Like, he's not from the past, and it's weird that he dresses like it.
But I believe they do still wear barrister outfits in Britain.
Well, listen, and apologies to all of our English listeners, but you guys did a lot of colonialism for a while, so maybe you guys can take the L on this. You should. Those robes are dumb and look dumb, and the weird fluffy hair. We fought a whole war so that I wouldn't have to acknowledge your dumb hair, and instead our presidents wore it from a bit till they decided that's dumb and we shouldn't have to do it.
Oh man! Who else is here?
Also, the Shadow King is here.
Shadow King continues to be here. I still don't quite understand how Shadow King came back in Uncanny X-Force. I've never really been able to parse that, but
okay. This actually makes it's very consistent from a continuity standpoint.
Is it because he was imprisoned in Psylocke's brain?
Yes, because back in 1997 or 1998, in the Psych War arc of, it's either Kelly or Schuster, I forget which one. I think it's Joe Kelly who does that one, I believe. Psylocke locked him in her brain, and that cut off the use of her telepathic powers for a very long time.
Right. Yep.
Because she was using the focus totality to hold him in there. And he stays in there until her mind kind of breaks earlier in this run, when Warren helps break him out of, or when she sees Warren turn evil, essentially. her mind breaks, and Shadow King gets out because of that.
Yeah, it's just weird because like he is not just Shadow King. He is like in Amal Farouk's body again.
Yes, but
that's the weird part.
Yes, but that's because Shadow King doesn't make any sense.
No. Anyway, he's here. The Omega clan, the Mega, clones are here.
Mystique and Sabretooth.
Yep, and Blob from Age of Apocalypse. And we have an interesting roster on Uncanny X-Force as well, because Phantom X is killed off early in this.
And he has already left the team in the first issue of this.
Right. Deathlock.
Psylocke leaves the team.
Mm-hmm.
Deathlock shows up when they go to the future for a hot minute on this.
Right. And Eva transforms into a woman or a female
she gets
looking
a sexy
character.
robot body.
Not like the Phantom X Max version. This is like
a different sexy
character.
Robot body.
Sure.
Deadpool.
And miss anybody?
Yeah, you missed AOA Nightcrawler, who's here.
Oh, right. Yeah, who's out for revenge against the Blob. And the Brotherhood has a simple goal here. They would like Evan Nasibur to, become the new Apocalypse and reign in a new era of death and destruction.
Okay, you say that, and I do think this is the smartest thing that this entire arc does. Because to take it all back, I guess, before I get to that, Uncanny X-Force is really about those first 3 issues where the team sees a resurrected Apocalypse as a child and has to decide what to do with it. Mm-hmm. And the child ends up dead because Phantom X makes a tough decision. And every arc, every story of this book spins out of that.
Right.
And this is the culmination of all of that. It's okay, was Phantom X right? Is Evan Sabinor good? It's what is the cost of that killing? What happens there? Because what happens to everyone is that causes Warren to die. That causes Betsy to spiral. That causes Phantom X to be killed. It causes so much pain and terror for everybody. Like, it's saying it is about the cost of violence, and it is about that. Wow, reveling in that violence. Like, let's be clear. Uncanny X-Force is smart in a lot of ways, and it's probably the best thing Rick Remender has written. It is also like okay being a grindhouse book if it wants. Like, there is a part where a shark gets teleported into a dude and eats him from the inside out, which is
pretty gruesome.
It's wildly gruesome. And there's stuff in here that I don't like. Like, there's a heck of a lot of fat phobia in this that is, once you notice it, it's hard to see how that is a punchline constantly in this book, which I don't super love. But
well, to your point, Remender is beating this theme to death.
He is not being subtle, no matter what anyone thinks.
He has it by the neck, and he's going to remind you, damn it, about what this theme is, like, over and over in every single issue, to the point where there's a whole, mini-sode that you mentioned about them going to the future, and the future is run by a fascist Psylocke who they basically do a Minority Report and are, killing people before they can commit crimes. It's a little much, it's very on the nose.
I feel like without I feel like the future 2 issues do push it over the edge of, okay, come on. We understand at this point, like, we as the reader do not need to understand that you shouldn't murder children for things they have yet to do.
Right.
We get that.
What I think is interesting is, the villains trying to get Evan to, accept his role as Apocalypse. And I think the underlying conflict of, I don't think Daken is written particularly well here, but
he's written very evil, which
just as a character, he's not that interesting.
In Remender's credit, that's just how Daken was written until, let's see, when last year.
Right. When he became enjoyable.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I will be nice. Tom Taylor did a lot of stuff that a lot of people liked about Daken, and there's some decent things that got him onto that path. Regardless,
moving in the right
What
direction.
I do love about that is, while, like, the Dark Angel saga is about Angel's ascension to Apocalypse, and this is about, these villains want Evan to be Apocalypse, but really they don't. They just want to screw with Wolverine, which is beautiful, even to the point that actually this whole thing is not orchestrated by Daken. It's orchestrated by Sabretooth, who wanted to mess with Wolverine so bad that he would have to murder his own son in a shallow pool of water.
Yeah.
Just to be like, I got you.
Yeah.
Like, this entire thing, it's 10 issues for Sabretooth to be like, hey, Logan, gotcha again. Ain't I a stinker?
I punked you.
That level of intricate planning in revenge and like psychological torture from Sabretooth makes for a very good Sabretooth plot. And I'll give him credit. Like, the scene where Wolverine has to kill Daken is well written and well drawn and is emotionally resonant. Like, it's Wolverine looking at his life and saying, if I did something differently, what would this have been? Which, granted, is the same trick he plays when Psylocke has to kill Angel in the Dark Angel saga, but it's a good trick.
Yeah. Yeah. The arc is not bad by any means. I do think it's way too long. It does not need this many issues to, go into the alternate future and drag out this ongoing, tempting, if you will, of what Evan is supposed to be and all of that.
They probably could have sped up the first 2 issues are all about that, the creation of the new Omega Gang.
Right.
Well, that and the conflict between Phantom X and Psylocke, which their relationship is not as interesting when it's an actual thing versus flirtation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, future Wolverine and Psylocke make out. It's supposed to be it's a splash page. It's like, who cares? You know what I mean? We don't like these versions of the characters.
Betsy makes decisions sometimes. It's fine.
Yeah, but every issue that I think we're actually like getting to the big culmination of this story, it's not over. There's another issue where we're going to keep going and going and going. And it just does not need to be this long.
And I don't know how much of this was stretched, like if they had a point where they had to stretch it out because of publishing at the time, because they knew that this is during AVX essentially. So they knew that the Marvel Now relaunch was going to happen. All the books were going to shake up. So if they were saying, hey, Rick, can what month can this go to? How about this goes here? And then, that's possible. That can be your ending.
I mean, we do get what I do think is, satisfying in terms of an ending is, like you said, the scene with Wolverine killing Daken, but also Evan, this has been sort of germinating throughout the book as it goes on. And we do see him take up the old Apocalypse armor, and yet he does not become Apocalypse. And so the point is proven through his actions that, the experiment of cloning him and raising him in the world worked,
Do you like the idea that they raised him in the world, but they just raised him to live Superman's life?
I think it's funny. I don't know. It's always, I do wish that Evan got more to do. You know what I mean?
Like, he does nothing. He doesn't do anything in here. He mostly feels sad for himself because he doesn't want to murder a lot of people. Which, fair, Evan, I also don't.
Yeah. Yeah. The concept of Evan, I think, is more interesting a lot of times than what he's allowed to do as a character.
Yes. Yes.
Especially because by the time you get to Wolverine and the X-Men Volume 2, we're right back here. We're right back to, is he going to do it? And we already know, that was already answered.
When you get to Axis, the question is, oh no, now he has done it. Now he is evil.
Right. It's, I don't know. It feels redundant. It doesn't feel necessary. But I do enjoy this story. I don't think it's up to the heights of some of the other things that happen.
This is
in the book.
Probably my third favorite story from Uncanny X-Force. And there's only 5 real arcs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not counting that one story where Magneto has Wolverine kill the Nazi, because that one's probably the second best story. or the one where the single issues are actually the best part, because you got that, and then you got the one where Iceman from AOA gets murdered by Kurt.
Oh yeah.
That one's good too. Actually, is that a Phil Noto one?
I'm
Yeah, that's a Phil Noto one. That's good. Actually, if you want a good one, that one rules. Actually, this is a good story though. Like, I really do like this. I reread Uncanny X-Force at the start of the pandemic, and while I have my qualms with it, and I think there are parts that are bad, Uncanny X-Force still more or less holds up. It holds up way better than Uncanny Avengers. I'll tell you that.
Oh, sure. Unless we're talking about Uncanny Avengers Volume 3, which I really enjoyed quite a bit.
But we have Uncanny Avengers Avenge the Earth at 57 on this list.
It's really good. That arc is really good. Sometimes when Remender's firing on cylinders, I love his stuff, but sometimes he gets bogged down by some of the things he likes to play on, like the alternate futures, alternate reality characters. And I think a lot of that drags this story down, along with the length of it. So why don't we take a look at the list and see where we would put this?
I think I know exactly where I would put it, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Oh, okay. Geez. I'm curious where we have other Uncanny. Dark Angel Sagas.
We only have the one. We have Dark Angel Saga, which is at 15.
See, that's tricky because obviously that is like,
Dark Angel Saga is better. Also, not the best part of Uncanny X-Force. That's that first arc. Spoiler alert. That first arc holds up something fierce.
Yeah, it's really good. It is also wild that by the time you get to the later issues, they start calling this arc a saga. Did you notice that?
I didn't. Does Nick Lowe edit this? Because that feels like a Nick Lowe thing.
I don't know. It starts popping up on the covers. It's the Final Execution Saga. And you're like, is it?
It wasn't a saga earlier.
Right. So no, I don't think this is as good as the alternate reality Uncanny Avengers arc. I do think this is better than like Axis, of course.
Yes. Okay, here's
what a wild spread.
Do you think this is better than Avenge the Earth?
No.
You don't think this? Okay.
No, I wouldn't put this nearly that high.
I mean, I would. And put it around there. I think it's about on the same level. Okay, this probably isn't better than number 77, the world, or Welcome to Genosha.
No, yeah.
But I think this is better than the Asgard Shi'ar War at 85.
Yeah, I guess I can get behind that. I just there's something about this that I remember from my first read through of this book, and I was just like, this is interminable. But I think we're in the right area. I think this is probably it's definitely in the top like 150.
I think it's in the top 100 because I think this is better than Assault on Grey Mountain, which, again, Assault on Grey Mountain is challenged because that's 19 through 24, and 19 is really good, and 20 through 24 are fine.
Well, I guess. I don't know. I feel like we're more on par. This is better than Messiah War at 104.
It is better than Messiah War. I will not hear anything else.
Yeah, I think it's all right. It's definitely better than Empire.
It's better than Empire X-Men
at 101. All right, I'm working my way up. Is this better than the Shiva scenario though?
Yes, I would say yes. I would say yes because the Shiva scenario, it's a Larry Hama comic, so it's uneven.
Okay.
It's good uneven. It's more good than bad. And I'm not saying that this isn't uneven, but
I don't think this is better than the AVX Sinister arc of Uncanny X-Men Volume 2.
Okay. I would say this is better than Planet X from New X-Men, the end of New X-Men, which is similarly a ending that tries to say something and mostly succeeds, but has some pretty obvious failures in it as well.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think this is a better ending than Planet X. I generally end on this and like I leave the book with good feelings. Like I think it has a good ending. You get the resolution of a lot of the plots that you're looking for. Like it does make this entire run a very nice, neat package, as long as you're coming in with the understanding of years and years of X-Men continuity, including a strong working knowledge of the Age of Apocalypse.
Right. So is this better or worse than X Factor 87 Examinations at number 80?
I would say so, but a lot of people would not.
No, I know. But I think that book has its own flaws despite its strength. So why don't we slot it right above that?
Our new number 80 is The Final Execution. No songs in this one. It's just a regular execution.
Oh man, that was a lot of Omega Red and then a little less Omega Red.
It was a lot of stories that Omega Red is in, but the very nature of stories that Omega Red is in means that you don't really talk about Omega Red because he does a fight.
Yeah, that's it. He's going to tentacle out. Anyway, that was fun.
That was fun, and I'd like to thank Patreon supporter Bill is Reading for requesting that episode because we had a good time doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, what have you got going on?
Not much. You can always follow me on Twitter at Arthur Stacy. Anything you want to hype up from Comics XF?
Yes. Go read our editorial that Dan the Man Grote just put out on our newsletter, which is now the editorials that are in the newsletter go live on the site on Sundays if you want to wait, but you shouldn't because the newsletter is great. Dan has a really good piece about the supply chain challenges that are facing comics, with a lot of feedback from people at all levels of comics, from folks who are doing individual Kickstarters to some of the larger publishers who are out there. So there's a lot of good insight on how that's impacting folks. I'll tell you, my personal life is heavily impacted by some of the supply chain disturbances that we have been facing as someone whose job is selling a thing.
I think it's going to be affecting a lot of people if it isn't already. So yeah, definitely check that out. If you're not subscribed to the newsletter, you got to. And Zach, what are we doing next week?
Next week, we're talking about King Hyperion, who technically isn't an X-Men character, but is in X-Men stories. And I got really excited because Adam hasn't read any of the King Hyperion stuff, and I don't know how well it's going to hold up, but I do think the ending of the King Hyperion stuff freaking rips.
I'm excited to read it.
You shouldn't be, because it's going to be a lot of Chuck Austin comics and then a different one. Until then, this is Battle of the Atom. We hope you survived the experience.
Get it!